Okay, Scott, you're the host, huh?
Well, I'm just the first one on. I don't know if I'm, but yeah, sounds like I'll be doing today's.
Well, I assume that only host can open.
We have this one kind of set where anyone can. I mean, we literally opened this thing. Remember when we were talking and you had mentioned about making it where everybody can be involved?
Yes.
We opened it wide open.
Hmm.
So I think.
Okay, I don't know the details of Google Meet. Every platform is slightly different, so
Yeah.
I was improvising from Zoom probably.
Yeah, no, I would think had you clicked it first, you'd be hosting at first. But you know, it's going to automatically record and anybody.
Yeah. And we had this case in the past where somebody exited and it kicked all of us out, even as Bronley was on the call.
That would be a problem. But considering I'm the one kind of doing the stuff today, I won't be leaving anytime soon. Hey, Brian.
Hey.
How's it going?
Going all right.
We are doing a pre-warm-up.
Yeah.
We're the warm-up bands.
Problem is, if everyone that's in here is going to be expert users, anything I cover is going to be kindergarten level review.
Well, here is the biggest concern. Are we hosting the records of this on Roku forums or on YouTube? Because, I mean, we should think about that. Like, it brings us thinking about, mortality of time passing and so on. How do you continuity and legacy?
Yeah,
like other than the petty squabble about the stupid thing Roku is doing by closing the forums, it's just remember that something that you expect will be there forever may not be. Over.
Well, we would have all thought Sears would have been there forever.
Who? Sears.
Before Walmart and Amazon, Sears was the retailer in the US.
I think you're showing your age there, Scott, even by using that example.
I mean,
JCPenney. No, JCPenney is still there. What was there? The first one Sears, Kmart, Circuit City, right?
No,
Good guys.
Nobody would have ever imagined Sears would disappear. They were a monster. And then the internet came out and they were just a bunch of old men are like, oh, this is silly. It has no point. And they ignored it, and that was the end of Sears. They got clobbered. But yeah, the things that can never go away, go away. Hopefully YouTube will be a couple of years.
I don't see YouTube going away for a long time. It's a monster.
People still have too much stupid nonsense to post.
Yes, we do.
I will say I spend more time on YouTube than they are. Like, that's about the only thing I actually watch these days.
So I watch it some, but not a lot.
That's what they used to put me to sleep on my phone. It works because there is no case that I didn't fall asleep eventually.
Well, 99% of it is mindless banter. Should put anyone to sleep.
You got the wrong channels you're following there, Scott. You got to get some good stuff.
I didn't say that's all bad stuff. I said 99% of YouTube. So
I have started using Perplexity AI to summarize videos. Like, I'm like, okay, I don't have time to watch 20 minutes of video. And unlike written stuff, you cannot skim easily through it. Over.
Hey, guys.
Oh, it summarizes. AI can summarize what the video talks about.
Yeah,
Perplexity AI in my case. Over.
We've been having conversations about how confused AI gets about BrightScript. Because it's looking at so much old stuff. Things have changed. You got the Bright sign and the Roku and BrigherScript. Plus, it just makes things up. Just kind of comes up with its own RO objects that don't exist, never existed. never occurred under any platform. And it's like, yeah, use this. And finding AI to be more trouble than it's worth in the specific case of BrightScript.
It bluffs. And in that we can argue that this is very human-like. Imagine enthusiastic person with little knowledge, right?
Yeah. And that's where AI
It bluffs. It's like, oh, do this, right? Somebody who knew JavaScript before.
Yeah. Which I was never a JavaScript guy. I honestly hate that language. So I never compare anything to it.
There's very little training data out there that says, hi, I don't know how to do this in BrightScript.
Well, I mean, it's a limited market, limited docs, limited examples. The AI doesn't have a whole lot to go on. Plus, at least with the forums, all that is seeing a lot of the older code and all that. That kind
I think it'd actually be really interesting to see if the community can come up with a good, I'm trying to think, all these systems have like different prompt documents. And so, you know, coming at like, 4K worth of primer on BrightScript that you could add to your standard prompt.
Exactly.
But then how do you tell it to forget everything it thinks it knows of all the garbage it's accumulated?
Well, yeah, those prompts typically help a lot with guiding it. Like most of the time, it's like, I don't know what this is. Kind of looks like VB. I guess I'll do VB stuff. And so when you load it up with like the Copilot instructions file or stuff like that, Claude, it's made a huge difference in some of our local projects, just guiding it. Yeah.
And I notice if it gives the wrong answer, I'll give it the correction. I'll tell it why it's wrong. And that seems to help too. So like the other day when it told me to use an RO compression object, and I'm like, is there such a thing? And it's like, oh, no, there's not. I'm going to guess it's not going to recommend that to anyone in the future. Now I just realize it doesn't exist. I have to do a code.
No, it can't get that context. Yeah, it doesn't save that that kind of context like for everyone. It will save for your project if you put on the documentation there. Yeah.
But it doesn't learn across the board from that.
No,
and there is argument to be made because people will taint it then, right? Like with purpose, will organize to tell it that something is good or something is bad, and then it will affect the others. So they are not interested in opening this in general, but privately, sure. Over.
So I didn't think of that. I guess I just don't think in those terms. But,
what we tend to do a lot on our team is whenever it makes a mistake and then it verifies that, yes, it did make a mistake, we tell it to actually update whatever context files it was using to basically not make that same mistake again. So it basically self-heals in a way.
Yeah, because yesterday or day before it told me to use RO compression. I'm like, is there such a thing? And he's like, oops, no. Go and turn your associative array keys into integers. And I'm like, well, can I do that? And it's like, well, oops, no. And we went around 3 or 4 different things and it came back and said, well, your code seems pretty solid as it is. It's like, well, we had to go through 5 iterations to get there.
Yeah. For BrightScript is bad. I was finishing a game that I published last year, and it helped me. But I noticed that it was learning from my code, like. And it, of course, not SimGraph or anything. It was simple code, but it was like repeating patterns that it found in my code and everything. But it's not that it knows BrightScript. It just tries to guess based on the context of it, of the specific project you are working on.
And I'll have a boilerplate startup. If I'm like doing something new, knowing I'm going to have to do a lot of massaging. And I'll let it do code reviews because it'll catch things where I just did stupid misspellings.
Yeah, it gets code reviews. It sometimes gets good stuff. But in TypeScript is amazing. In TypeScript, JavaScript, that the quality is absurd. Yeah, I don't know, Bronley, if you're using it for your. Yeah, the steps I could do with the simulator just using that, like big refactorings, it does very well. I mean, of course, I need to adjust based on my taste and how I want things and simplify things. Sometimes it over architecture stuff, but it does it, and it's effective. Like
Yeah, but it has stuff to go on. TypeScript probably gets more documentation in a month, any given month, than BrightScript.
No. Yeah, it's a completely different scale, like thousands and thousands of different magnitude of scaling of knowledge. Not only documentation, I would say even code, right? That they ingested for training. They ingested thousands and thousands. I mean, if you look at BrightScript in GitHub, there's very few examples and old examples, bad examples. So it's not comparable to huge, like for Python and TypeScript. There are huge projects, right? Even like VS Code itself is a huge project in TypeScript that has great patterns. So the only it knows how to write great TypeScript, right? So it's different.
Yeah, but a lot of it is based on volume, and that's what we don't have in BrightScript.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we have noticed on our project is as we migrate more and more things to BrigherScript, because it has patterns that are very similar to other languages like classes and fields, methods, etc. It's done a much better job at like just making stuff up. You know, I tell it to create a service for me, and it creates it based on what we have right now and what I might want, and it really nails down some of the language.
The good thing about this
patterns was more
LLMs is that like it's pattern recognition, right? So that's the whole thing about it, and that's why it's so good to develop. And then if you have a good code base, it probably will. As I said in my game, it just mimicked all the things I had already done, so it could do it. But if you try to make it something like a refactoring, even to summarize, I asked to summarize a big project that I'm starting to work. It did a not good job with BrightScript. It could not summarize for me.
Our project, our current Roku project's all in V1, so plug for V1. Ooh. And what we're doing with that is, defining every. We don't use associative arrays everywhere. We define an interface, and therefore the thing knows, if my function is called get video object, well, I have a video object interface. It knows what those things should be. And like, I think all of those places where you can have parts of your code where it defines this is something, and then the AI will gravitate to those and grab onto it, so that it knows like, oh, wait a second, this key was missing. Should be something else. This is supposed to be a string, whatever, and it just builds it for me. I'm seeing that a lot with more defined structure, for sure, even in BrigherScript. Yeah, and I agree, Lewis. Like the more definition and the more kind of patterns that are, it'll pick up those and say like, oh, well, this is probably what you mean now. I'm finding that a lot.
Yeah, I've not been cleared to use BrigherScript yet, so I'm still in AA land heavily.
You can write all your interfaces in BrigherScript and then just use JS comments to get your type checking, and you don't have to transpile. So we have ways to help.
Yep, I talked to
him. We need to create a knowledge base, man, for this kind of tips. We need to start creating that somewhere. I registered like a domain called BrightScript.dev, and I just created a repository. It's an open source repository that we could start like collaborating and put in there. I mean, I don't want to profit or have anything like it. I just created the domain because I found it was available, BrightScript.dev, and then we could like do some like guide, put MD files there, like whatever. Format.
Yeah, I mean, set it up as a Google Docs page and just be able to have people do PRs to that. Yeah,
we did started something like that, Bronley, you and I, like 2 or 3 years ago.
Where was that?
It's already a GitHub page, but it has nothing. It's just there. But if anybody wants to champion that, like I'm happy to share. I know we got. Yeah, we have so many ideas. Sometimes we share great like rants, even save rants from the Slack would be good for getting right. So to get some knowledge base, right, for us. But these tips about BrigherScript, for instance, like I also do not work with BrigherScript because never had the opportunity. And I think if we could start like having users, even if we don't convert the code base, but have this kind of users, will be like evangelical way to make to make people start using it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think challenge is always, do we want new features or do we want documentation about existing features? And new features and bug fixes win 100% of time in my brain. I just don't want to write docs.
No,
We need docs. We have to know we do.
but the AI writes
The
great
AI
docs.
writes the docs.
You just need to review. So if you give
Yeah.
like bullet points and in the code base, it will create, or even examples, it will create very good documentation. That's what I'm doing in the simulator now. All the new stuff that I create, I say, oh, right, by the way, write an MD file for that, and it just write it. And that saves a lot of time. And even JS doc, I'm using that for JS doc my whole projects, also because it's very boring and it actually writes better than me English. So
Well, part of the
Has
problem
anybody
is
here
one of the
used
keeping everything instead of
AI
getting it
to
to work
create unit
all the
tests
time.
project?
Hang on a second, I'm getting Justin, go ahead, you can go next. What would you say?
Yeah. Sorry to bust in like that, but has anybody here tried using AI to write to create unit tests for their project? Because I tried it over the holiday, and I pointed it at Roy Bush, and the results weren't awesome. I wonder if anybody's had results with that.
We haven't used it for unit tests, but for automated tests with RTA, it's been doing a really good job.
We're also using
Cool.
the word AI here, and it really matters which AI we're talking about, because you've got Claude, which rocks.
Claude,
But then you've got Copilot, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Copilot using Claude versus GPT for like, there's so many flavors of all of this too. Brian, do you guys
Yeah, for
have like
TypeScript,
Claude instructions or anything in your repo?
Yep.
That's also
Yeah.
there helping. Justin,
Correct.
I don't.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the start, like the stuff. Like that's the thing. Like if you just go with like, you know, out of the box again, like it's what we're saying. Like it just doesn't know. You know, so like you have to like point in the right direction.
yeah, and in my experience, like GPT 5.1, I didn't try GPT 5.2. GPT 5.1 Codex in Copilot, it does better job when you need like lengthy work than the Cloud 4.5, in my experience. Like, and then TypeScript. So, but if I want to do a major change or a big implementation, it does way better. But for smaller things and test cases, I prefer Claude because it's more responsive and interactive than GPT. GPT starts thinking and then at the end just throws stuff, but the Claude is more conversational. I like it better.
Yeah, in our project,
Yeah, that's
we use Augment, and we tend to use Claude Sonnet 4.5, which is amazing. And because our project has so many unit test files, we have like 900 unit test files and over 6,000 individual test cases. It does really well at looking at through those and basically making up new cases as it goes. If it's just standalone in a standalone project, it doesn't have enough context. But in our project, it's worked really, really well, just because we have an insane number of test cases.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mark, how many tests did we pass in BrigherScript recently? You sent me a message. Wasn't it like?
Yeah, so the V1 branch of BrigherScript has over 3,600 tests right now. So going from, so it's like over 1,500 more than the current, at least than the current master branch of BrigherScript. And I find, you know, it's a whole different animal when you're working with a tool like BrigherScript that basically takes input and gives output. It's so much easier to write a test than you know, a Roku app. You know, it maybe if your app was architected so well that everything was completely broken off from UI versus, you know, logic and so on, but like it's hard. It's so hard to like it kills my soul to write a unit test where it has to do like there's a button click, or like I have to check label contents, or that this poster showed up, or that I need to mock out a back end something so that I can, so that when I do this other thing happens. I hate it. So like it's a different animal, but yeah, we have thousands of unit tests in BrigherScript. It's pretty BrigherScript V1. It's super stable.
I'm lucky in that regard. My entire
What's the
project is-
timeline? What's the timeline you're envisioning for V1 to become?
Bronley?
I know. There's just so much stuff going on.
I
It's so
mean,
hard.
draw a line, man. Draw a line.
It's
You need to
me.
draw a line. Maybe.
The problems that we've had with BrigherScript V1 have mostly been performance related in our project. And this has been a long time since I've even been able to get it back in and working. Not because there's anything wrong with it, just because I've been busy. We had a couple issues where the language server would get all hung up, and it like just there'd be stale diagnostics floating around that you had to reload the language server to trigger them to get rid of. So there's a lot of stuff around that, and I just need like a week to sit down and figure out how to reproduce them, hand them the market, and he'll solve them in like 3 hours, like the boss that he is. But I think at this point, I'm not holding it up because of any new features. I don't think there's anything that needs to land. Component statement is a whole different beast, and I'm not going to block V1 with or without that. It's feature complete, although Mark keeps adding new features while he's waiting for me. It's on my goal list to try to get through it in January. It's just there's so much stuff that just keeps coming up that takes my priorities, and it's hard to I don't know.
You're
It's
playing
only-
too much.
We're
You're playing
coming
too
up on
much
3
guitar,
years, I
man.
think, here in June.
You're playing too much guitar. There's 5 guitars
Yeah.
in the
Yes,
back,
I
man.
need
So
to
that's the
throw them all
problem.
away. Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. I use it in our benchmarking library. Anytime I get a chance, like flip it to V1 mode, even just in like editing. But if you got plugins and stuff, that's some of the considerations there, is that you have to migrate them from V0 to V1 and live in both lands depending on how much risk you're willing to take. And so we need to get it there. I know. People just aren't nagging me enough. You just need to make it so that everything else just seems less important. I don't think it'll help. Chris just navigates my priority list to his whim. So.
Well, just stop maintaining the previous version at some point.
Well, the problem is we're using it in prod, and we haven't switched over to be using V1 yet. And
That's
so
the
I'm not even
motivation.
doing it, like my time isn't maintenance of V0, it's other things. Like I don't think we put much into V0 other than some syntax fixes, Mark. Like every once in a while there's like a little syntax thing, but overall, like I don't think we're wasting any time like really maintaining it. It's ancillary features and debugger related things that we're collaborating with Roku on, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's to provide motivation to move to the new version through the users, feedback to you.
I mean, it's already a small niche project as it is. Like overall, like the number of BrigherScript projects compared to non-BrigherScript projects, it's still pretty small. So then it's really like Mark and Luis and 3 other people that are like, please, but they're already just using V1, and so they're fine.
Okay, I always assumed that several of the major channels we watch were based on BrigherScript.
They are.
That.
There's several. I don't know if I'm allowed to name any of them, but there are at least 5 that I can think of that are fairly large that are using it in production. I think a couple of them are using V1 in production. So,
and I'd like
bro,
to start
I asked that before.
The totem pole.
I asked that before, but what kind of statistics can you get from your extension usage? And can you beef up like anonymous stuff, but like try to get, because I think it would be very useful for the community, even for Roku, I believe, to get some stats of what kind of, I know it's going to be costly in some cases, but because there is like, BrightScript has this process of transpiling, you can get a lot of insight about what kind of components are being mostly used and what are the others, but also how many users in general are using BrigherScript and BrightScript and all that stuff. So it will be very like important data if we could gather that anonymously, and of course making sure people can see that you're not stealing anybody's code. But yeah, I think it will be very helpful if we could gather stats from the
Yeah, I can give you a little bit of insight into what stats we do collect. I can explain that a little bit here. Let me share my screen.
But I think there's no stats collected for the BrigherScript compiler, right? It's mostly just the extension at this point.
Correct, and that's kind of the thing, is I didn't want to directly bait. I haven't gotten to that point yet where I'm collecting stats in BrigherScript. There's a level of like architecture that we need to build in to pipe all those in. So let me show you first how we collect these, then I'll show you sort of what we're collecting. So in the VS Code extension, let me zoom this in a little bit. We have a file called telemetry manager, and I wanted to centralize all of our telemetry tracking in this one file so that everybody could look to see what we're doing. So the kinds of things that we collect, whenever you start a debug session, we collect information like, are they using the debug protocol? Do they have this feature turned on? A couple other features. And all of these are basically just, are they defined or not, rather than like collecting, like, is files defined? I think it would be a breach of trust if we were collecting the list of all the files that people have. So we just check to see, have they customized the list, right? So stuff like that. And that happens whenever somebody starts a debug session. And then there's another one whenever they use the remote control mode. That was back when we were introducing it. We wanted to see if people are turning it on and which way they were turning it on and off. And there's another one for startup, just how many people open the extension, because there might be people that open the extension that don't actually do a debug session. And all of this lives within VS Code, the extension. BrigherScript runs in a separate process, completely isolated from all of the VS Code life cycles and everything. So we basically need to build telemetry tracking into BrigherScript directly and figure out a way to pipe those events over the language server protocol over some kind of custom event. And so like, I'm not opposed to tracking some of that stuff. We have to be careful like how much data we're collecting and what kind of data. It gets a little fuzzy. So I'm open for maybe what I could do is I could open up like a GitHub issue and just like propose something, and then we could chat about that a little bit to discuss what we want to collect and how we want to collect it. And then I could
cannot affect the performance. It cannot affect the performance, and also privacy is a big thing. Like we don't want like people like oh no, this company is bypassing Roku rules by using components, this kind of stuff. Yeah. No, it's mostly really, I mean, does people use Zoom row list or row list, right? What's the preferred component around the world, right? So that I think that would be useful. Maybe Roku has those kind of data, but it's nice. This dashboard is yours only, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not. I don't think I can even make it public. Not that I would be opposed, but we probably want to have some other process to like expose that kind of information on a README on a regular basis.
Yeah. What I would do is like it used to do that like monthly or quarterly report. Just get a screenshot of this and put it there.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like we don't need that daily like you maybe, but
right.
But it will be good to know how things are going in this world. Yeah.
So what kind of, let me make some notes here as we're talking about it. What kinds of things would you want telemetry about? You had mentioned
maybe tasks related to like how many tasks each application.
How many different components extend task?
Maybe yes, or yeah, because you cannot know how many tasks are actually instantiated. Actually, you can in debug mode,
Right.
but yes,
But it's a bit
when
more
they
difficult because you have to instrument
yeah,
that, right?
actually when an exception happens, and I know you call you parse that, you have an idea of how many open tasks are there, right?
Yes.
And also I would say that's mostly my curiosity is about also different components, right? Like that thing we discussed before. What are the most used components?
Yeah.
See, I may be out of turn since I don't use BrigherScript, but I thought that would really help with BrigherScript for you to know what features people are using the most, where to concentrate your efforts.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't know, if the classes are being used 50 times as much as the interfaces, you know, your effort goes in the classes.
Yeah. What so I can like count the number of ternary expressions in the program as opposed to the number of class statements in the program. But like,
Even to know that it's being used.
yeah.
It's not how much. If somebody's using classes in ternary and the next guy's using classes not ternary, and then you realize you got 5,000 programmers using classes and you got 650 using ternary, either it needs more docs on ternary or you need to worry about putting as much time into it. I mean, that'd be a judgment call you make. But so yeah, frequency of use is one thing, but just the fact that it's used at all would be of value to you, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What are the data collection points though? Run of a program, compilation, and bundling?
So we've got a language server that runs for every Roku project. Only BrightScript projects will run transpilation. So as much as possible, I would lean towards the in-editor language program has loaded up side of things, because I can collect more data across the board that way, as opposed to only those who run the transpiler. But I mean, that metric of how many people are transpiling would be interesting on its own.
What is the data collection point, the event that will cause logging a data point?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question.
Because I have a gotcha there, because you will end up collecting data points for somebody who compiles often.
Yeah.
Their app may not be used by anybody.
Yeah, you can you probably need to create a hash for the project, or some kind of like create some kind of a unique identifier that is anonymous for that project, and then do not count. I mean, just keep that somehow, because you will, as Nas said, like if the guy runs to like write one line and debug, write another line and debug, and the other one that writes 10 lines and debug will be, but but having some kind of hash of the project involving, maybe, I don't know, it's hard. I mean, whatever information you have on the launch for the or the name, the connector, a couple of different things from the manifest, maybe, and encrypt it in a way that is not decryptable.
Yeah, and we don't.
It's hard because of it's an open source project. People will try to hack it, but anyway.
We don't even run the transpiler directly. That is a user executing their own pre-launch task or own batch. So actually, that telemetry isn't. I don't even know that we have a way, without asking them to wire it up, a way to collect data at compile. So one event that I do have is whenever we detect a folder, like we open VS Code for the first time, or you add a new BS config, we load all of the files into memory, validate it the first time. And so I do have like first project full load, fully loaded. I have that event. But if you keep your VS Code open for 3 straight days without reloading, you wouldn't have any new changes that you've made. But that might be okay too, assuming that, you know, you open it again later.
How hard would it be, and this may be a bad idea, but for you to put a, basically you to force a key into the manifest that if we're running the VS Code extensions, our manifests are going to have a key, and that way you have an identifier for that project.
Well, I don't know that I want like a unique. I just need a way to. Do we even need?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to.
No, you don't need to have that by project, but you need to have a way to isolate the data, right? So to make like the data point is project by project, right? So there are unique projects that you need to create, and then how big is this project, and everything, and all the data that comes from that project will be handled as a data point, and then you can compare, right? Say,
Yeah,
oh, we have.
I feel like file path, root dir, or the workspace folder might be enough. So we just hash that in some kind of non-reversible way, salt it out, whatever. You just basically, because I don't even care about like going back to it. I just need to know.
Yes.
This,
Yes.
do we even need to know that it's project by project, or see, these are the reasons I haven't gotten into it, because there's all this nuance around like, what do I collect? When do I collect?
Also,
when do I publish it?
And also the number of developers on the same project, like depending on the size of the team, also will affect it, right? Because there will be way more like data points for a specific, and it will be biasing towards that project, the data, because there are more people working on it. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know.
And the path
won't
be the same. You're not guaranteed everybody clones that to the same path.
Exactly,
So
it's different.
You get a dev team of 10, and all of a sudden you've got 10 times the number of items, or 10 times the number of classes being used, because we don't know that's the same one.
Yeah, the only way probably will be using title from the manifest and
That's probably okay.
other links. Yeah.
It's probably okay if 10 developers work on the same project to count it as 10 different projects.
Yeah.
And it won't, I mean, versus my concern was just that one person that runs the project once a month versus somebody that runs it, 50 times a day. The second person shouldn't get 1,000 times more weight on their data points. And I think the path takes care of that.
We also, my reports would probably filter by user. And so if somebody ran it 100 times a day, I wouldn't say I've seen this number of classes all over. I would say like by user, by number of classes, and that completely eliminates the number of times they've run compile.
Oh yeah, you do have discrete by user already, because
correct.
It's okay.
Yeah, that would help.
The only thing is if he works on 3 different projects, that will be the differentiation. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to find out who's using what,
just to clarify, I'm not trying to find out who's using what. I'm trying to find out what people are
using. Yeah, we have to create that. But if
you
somebody is the user of ternary, they're probably doing it in all the projects they want to do it in. They either use it and probably use it well, or they don't. So if I'm not using BrigherScript, you're going to get 0 classes from me. If I am using it, you'll probably get it in every project I do.
It's not 100% true, because sometimes you work for a company that does have one policy, and then you have a personal project that has different way of writing things. So it could be different. Yeah,
that's fair enough. Yeah, if I had a personal project, it would definitely use BrigherScript. Like I said, I'm not cleared to use it at work yet. So I
I'm
would be a
doubtful.
case example of that.
I'm doubtful that this terminal used somewhere is useful, if at all, because the fact that I use it in one place doesn't have much weight to it, right? Like, do I use it? I mean, doesn't make it important. I mean, I can as well use it once or twice, and that may be easily replaceable.
Yeah. Luis, go ahead. You have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, from like a feasibility standpoint, just from an initial point of view of like, what would be the first thing we would do in terms of telemetry around the LSP? One thing you guys probably are very, very curious about is when a project loads, how long does it take for the LSP to validate and do all of these things, like all of those performance metrics, and then you can also see like, oh, how many types of expressions and statements have you found and whatnot. So probably not from a when do we log those events, maybe from a first stage, that's probably the way to go, because people often reload projects, and you might want to know like, oh, this person is having like 3 minutes validation time or whatever the case may be. So things like that are probably more useful from a extension standpoint than other things that I think a survey would probably be more helpful.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so, as in terms of like first thing to do, the when we log would be when the project is done with its first whole validation flow. So we finds all the files, parses all the files, validates all the files, and says, okay, I'm ready to start answering your questions. But we have a very clear point there. That will be when we log, and we could log the timings around all of the phases up to it, as well as if we wanted to collect information about how many of this thing or that thing did we find in this project. Yeah, that feels like a really good first step.
Do you have number of files?
Number of files would be an interesting one.
Number of lines, total lines, XML versus BrightScript.
I just had an inspiration. You could get lots of people to adopt this if you called it BrigherScript wrapped. So you could get your stats for what happened in the last year in BrightScript development.
BrigherScript wrap.
Yes.
You compiled 4,808 times.
That's
you used ternary operators 70 times.
Yeah, don't let the managers see that, because they will start like rating your bonus based on your rep, and that's not good. Like lines of code. I had when I was a supervisor in my career, I got a guy came into my office saying, "You should fire this guy." I was looking at his number of lines of code, and it's very few lines of code. He was one of the smartest developer of my team, and I said, "Man, what are you talking about lines of code? This is like what you're working at IBM in the 60s and try to try to count lines of COBOL code." I mean, yeah, but it's funny. Yeah, I think it's a great idea actually to have the extension to give us our summary of the end of the year. Yeah.
If only there were more time in the day. I'm open to pull requests.
Yeah, no, it's not. I think you should release V1 is a better priority than this. It's just an idea. I think it is useful, but it's not.
Yeah, maybe what I can do, I could probably work on the pipelining of in the BrigherScript language server. This is how we send telemetry to VS Code and set up all of that. And then I could even open it to the community to let you guys start tapping into specific events that we would want to track. That might be a nice way of having me do my part and then point the direction towards what we could do past that.
So I have a solution to all our problems, and you add that to the V1 branch. So therefore, to make this land, we need to make V1 land, and then everyone's
Love it.
And then we get AI to do the wrapped part.
Yes, of course, yes. The AI is great with data, so like raw data.
Yeah,
for it to work on.
In terms of the Roku forums going away, I have been, thanks Naz for being on my butt about this all the time, but I have been, and I need to get you the export for today. I have been exporting all of our public Slack communications. It doesn't let me back up the private ones, which is fine. I don't think we should be backing those up. But all of the public channels, we have archive of all of our public Slacks from now until the beginning of when our Slack was founded. So in light of that, it may be worth standing up some kind of public archive or browser or something with that data. Naz, you've been playing with the data, just kind of like searching around. Have you put anything more formal to any of it? Like, did you make like a browser or anything? Like, is that something you were working on?
In light of the fact that developer forums are gone, and that we have forum archives, that's probably the way to put our hopes. I should dig out my scripts, and what I was working on is generating a markdown out of the JSON format that they have, and then put it like on GitHub. So it will be searchable, readable. I mean, from Markdown it turns into a readable, like your GitHub docs, effectively, right? So pages for each channel. Some channels will need to be broken into years. General may need to be broken into months. I need to look at the statistics because GitHub has limits to the maximum Markdown file that it will digest, that it will show and or search through. Over.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my thinking.
Yeah, that would be cool. I would be I would imagine, Naz, if you could come up with some scripts that basically ingest this file and spit it out as Markdown, we could even do this where we have GitHub Actions do the work for us, so there's not something that's a human has to run. I would basically get the archive, put it into the repo, somehow either commit it or point it to it in a one-time action run, and it would just generate all of the output to get the human element out of it as much as we can. I'd be game for hosting that on the Roku community. We can make a repo and all of that, just kind of have it all there since it's all kind of under one umbrella, if you would be open to that. But we can chat about this later. But it would be great to have stuff up there.
The output itself will be a repo of Markdown files, right? And I was thinking just browse it on GitHub. There is nothing wrong.
Yeah, GitHub pages is very easy to publish, like, and then what it does is basically get the repository with whatever you have, and then it creates a branch and publishes as a web page, right? So what Bronley said, it could be meaningful, could be done like it's basically in the main master of the repository. You put the raw files, and the build process generates the GitHub pages.
No, not sure that it even needs to go to pages. Like, where is the documentation of BrightScript? Is it on GitHub pages? I think it's fine just in the repository.
Well, yeah. I don't care necessarily whether it's Markdown or if it's a website. Like GitHub pages.
Yeah, it needs to be searchable. Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, GitHub repository would do that on its own, and then we could potentially spin it up into a website if we wanted to build like a better search or something. But Google might do it too. My point was more around an automated process that I handed a zip of an export and it produces what we need on the website.
Not in my book. No, because you need to do this 4 times a year. Really, it's not what will break your back. Someone, and by you I don't mean you. I mean someone.
But
effectively it's 4 times a year because they only give us the live access for 90 days.
Yeah, but my thought was, potentially we could do it I could potentially have GitHub Actions pulling this from Slack every week or every other day. Like we could have it running in such a way.
Automated. Yes.
Exactly.
You don't know the problems. I mean, you will need to merge because they will be different. I still haven't done it for 4 times a year, and you're talking about every day, because the archives are slightly different. So, I mean, you're overlapping things that are moving, right? So you need to load the previous, you need to update, you need to patch a database of sorts, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it looks like, but I'm just thinking that in the short to medium term, it would be nice to have our Slacks publicly indexable in that way. And I prefer automation anytime I can. And if I have to spend 3 days writing scripts that figures out how to auto merge, and then I can just have it run in the background, that's well worth it for me.
Fucking kind of a sliding window thing, and it's just,
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, we'll figure that out. But I think it would definitely be worth investigating.
If we could have that, and if, like we had all been talking past few days in here, if from Roku somehow we can get an archive of those forums, there is a lot of information in there that disappeared, honestly, very suddenly. You know, there's 15, 20 years of information there. A lot of it admittedly outdated, a lot of it useful, and it just evaporated out of nowhere. So whether they give, you know, like I said earlier in the thing, if they could have just kept the forum and locked it, nobody else can post, would be nice. Then no more moderation, assuming moderation was the issue.
And that's trivial to do.
Just something where we don't lose 20 years of valuable history.
I can't go into detail. All I can see is that our forums were being run by an external partner, and some of the shutdown was due to issues with that. So,
but just any kind of archive snapshot, anything to where we don't lose that data. And again, a lot of the data is nonsense, pre-scene graph, banter, all that. But who's going to want to go through hundreds of thousands of posts to figure it out? Just give us, you know, in some format, the archive where we can get up. It's valuable.
Because there are valid, and there are valid code, valid discussions there, like a lot of stuff about channel store, about basics of BrightScript, actually. For newcomers is very, very, very nice.
I mean, for a long time before these Slack forums, that's all we had, and we made use of it. It was useful. The Slack forums, of course, or the Slack channel, of course, helped dramatically. But like I said, just there's a abundance of, you know, good stuff in there that we just hate to lose.
Unless Roku is planning to go towards HTML5 and BrightScript, and we end our careers here, so that could be what's going on there, right? So we don't want that.
My argument there is the day they make BrightScript that easy that any of 3 million programmers can do it, we all get dropped to $60,000 a year jobs because everybody in the world can do it. So I kind of like the fact that it's you know.
No, yeah, it's a joke. I don't want that to happen.
You know, as I've said
Roku
before,
already can do that because there is a Chrome browser in every Roku. It's just that it's not interesting for them. They control the whole ecosystem. It's good. The ads and everything. So it's not an easy shift. I doubt this happening. But it's sad to lose our forum.
Yeah, I don't mind losing the abilities of the forum. Again, it kind of split the community into the forum and the Slack channel, which was more harm than good. But to lose the knowledge base that exists in the forum is a loss.
I had like 25 kudos. Where do those go?
How many?
I think it was like 25. I was so proud of myself.
You didn't receive them in the mail already? Sorry.
No, I got nothing in the mail. What the heck?
Yeah, I had some too, but I think they were from when I was like your age. They're old.
12.
So it sounds like I joined it. I know y'all are wrapping up. It sounds like I joined it just about the best time for someone like me to join.
Yeah.
You were the bearer of the bad news in the last couple of days of the year. That was awful to be assigned that mission. I'm sorry for you because that was
You
not
want to shoot the messenger, now's our opportunity.
So I can't share a whole lot, but I can tell you, I think, that I'm having conversations with our legal team, our PR team. This was not a decision that was made lightly. This was not a decision that was made overnight, and there are a lot of different factors that went into it. And all of the, the cord cutter article and then the one that was shared earlier today, all of those are being seen and reviewed by our leadership. And but I cannot make any forward-facing comments on what might or might not be coming. And you can, and I want you all to know, all 14 of you, it's hilarious. Again, this was not a decision that was made overnight. It was not a decision that was made lightly. And what I will say is we are trying to do what is best for the community. We understand right now that only being able to write into partner success and get support is not going to be sustainable as a long-term solution. We are a very lean team. There's very few people. And in the article that was shared this morning, the very last sentence said something like, this eliminates the human touch or something like that. And we are looking to leverage more AI tooling in the future. I think that was what was in the cord color thing. We are not there yet. So if you get a response to a partner, a partner success ticket, there is a person on the other side of that screen, right? When customers used to have hardware issues and they would chat with on the old support forum, those were people. They were agents, right? So a lot of things are changing. I am optimistic. Good changes are coming. But I can't share more than that.
And there's something.
Yeah, I think the most thing we lost is not even for us here. We are mostly experienced people. We don't rely on that for a lot, but it's mostly for, I would say, people are starting or having trouble that, and then they will not write for partner success, right? Asking anything, because they will not ask, oh, how can I do this or that in partners? Nobody will do that. So they will get lost, and then we'll go to the documentation and the examples that are not up to date. So that's a problem. I think that's what we lost at this point. But I'm also hopeful, as you said.
Recently, over the past couple of years, Roku has gotten a lot more involved in the Slack channel, which has been awesome, because the forums did have the problem that you had this mix of developers and end users, and they were all using the same mechanism. And it was just, chaos. The Slack channel has been mainly developers. And again, from the rank beginners up to the people that are just the absolute gurus. But Roku has, and I mean, I can go, yourself, Ben, and Luke, and Nicole, and Kent, and all that. Roku has gotten a lot more involved in the forums, and that has been monstrously helpful. Because I know that some of, Bronley, all that have behind-the-scenes access, but the rest of us don't. So it has been fantastic, and we don't get the noise of the end users here asking, why can't I watch Star Trek on Paramount Plus without a full subscription? Mixed in with us asking, why can't we use integers and AAs? It's two completely different target audiences. So this has been great. So again, like I said, the forums disappearing isn't so much of a loss as the knowledge in the forums disappearing. I wasn't upset that forums are gone. It split the community. I was upset that all that data is going to be gone.
Yeah. So what we talked here, Nicole, is that read-only form of the forums is easy to do and should be done, frankly. Now, technical reasons were pointed, like, oh, we hid it offshore to a provider. Okay. It can be downloaded the same way that it was transferred to provider. I think in the past, the forums were hosted on Roku servers. On PHP BB was the underlying thing. Then it was moved to a hosted service. Yes.
That is correct. Yes.
And one critique would be, you said it wasn't made lightly. Okay, well, was there a 6 months announcement that this is going to happen? No. So people decided and for 6 months were mulling and never published it. This sounds more like somebody forgot to renew the subscription for forums, and then boom. Oh, what do we want to do? Oh, we're just continuing.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like when you have an SSL cert that expires and then the entire website. So I can't tell you, so that is not what happened. There were a lot of people that are very important people that were involved in this decision. And it being at the end of the calendar year, I think it's very easy to infer that yes, there was some contract, around that date. But
I think if I would put my money, it's like a mix of cost cutting and legal issues. And legal issues because there may be something on the forum that someone found and raised the flag, and that was easier to take down than to.
So
it's my money. That's my money.
Are you gonna have to
I
start
know you can't say anything about, but it's my money on it.
And again, we are never allowed to make future forward-facing statements, and nothing is set in stone. So I can't speak to it, but all I can try to do is reassure you that the 3 years that I've worked, at Roku, I've tried very, very hard to advocate for the community to make sure that our leadership is aware of what y'all find valuable, right? Because our developers that build the apps and they are a huge part of the reason that Roku continued to be Roku, right?
Synergistic thing. We need each other.
Yeah, we need each other, right? And sometimes that message, sometimes it gets across the first time, and sometimes you got to retool the wording and you got to reword it, and then eventually it sticks. This is not one of those cases. I think everybody involved understands the importance of this and the historical archive of it. But, and I will share, this was a decision that was made at a very high level. And it involved a lot of people.
I have another good theory. Maybe this was for saving money for next year developer conference to be on person. So they're saving the budget to give us in person, right? So that's a better theory. Right, yeah.
That's totally it.
I love it in person.
As I said previously, I can't share anything. But if you want to go on Polymarket and you want to start making some bets, I think you're going to be a very rich man here pretty soon. Yeah. So
Ben just buried his face in his hand.
So I think our thing here from the developers is that we'd like read-only access to the archive of the developer forum. Specifically,
all we want.
Technically, it's very easy to do by just having it read-only, the old forum, right? I'm not interested on the technicality. I'm just pointing out that it does not require writing some export software or something like that, right? And that's our thing. It's not even, keep the forum, allowed writing. Just have the archive. Google has a lot of links to it. Like I said, when I looked for Photo Bridge, this product of Roku that from 2006 or something, that is one of the few sources remaining was somebody on the forums explaining on developer forums. Over.
Yeah, we are going to need to figure something out there. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you can duplicate what they did and just keep the same domain name that you probably own anyway, the stuff would just carry over. But yeah, we're not asking you to keep the forums. We're asking you to keep the archive. The forums disappearing, I don't think anyone's too upset on that. We have the Slack channel. We want the archive.
Yeah.
So I can speak, I hope, a little bit to that. So one of the things that you'll notice we do when we're troubleshooting is I'll say, hey, can you DM me your channel ID? And so there are privacy laws And that's part of the reason that our legal teams and communications teams have been so involved in this is whatever we do going forward, we need to be very cognizant that of how we are exchanging that personally identifiable information. And so if if we were to choose, like let's say Reddit, for example, because that was something we were considering. Let's say that we wanted to use Reddit and I had to say, hey, can you DM me your channel ID and your developer email? Well, that's PII, and there's laws around that. So if there were a breach with Reddit and that information were to get leaked, right, who's liable, right? And there's a certain level of risk that's with that. So in these conversations that we have been having, we are looking at what makes the most sense for the way that we as Roku employees receive information to help Roku developers troubleshoot their channels. And this is not something that is, like specific to like, oh, we Disney's and Paramount's. This is something this is the law, right?
Yeah.
For little developers, for big developers, everybody. So that is a huge point of we need to be cognizant of when we are doing this. And so that's the reason we're not leveraging Reddit for what we do, because we can't control that data. Customer service might be doing something different and they might have something else worked out. But for us, as of right now, we're going to utilize the Slack that we have, and we're going to utilize customer service. And I can't say any more than that.
Well, I appreciate
That's a separate topic.
Definitely keep us in the loop more.
Yeah, it helps knowing you've started the forums. In fact, you guys are taking this seriously, that we reacted to the forums disappearing about the data, and you guys didn't ignore it. You have not acknowledged, hey, we're dealing with that. We're figuring it out. We can't say anything, but the fact that you're addressing it helps.
Yeah.
That you're not just saying, oh, well, suffer. There are companies that would be their response.
I can promise you in the 3 years that I've been here, this is the one where I've come back from the holiday break and had the craziest week because this is a high priority. And for me, in the meetings that I'm doing and stuff that I'm working on, this is a very high priority for me. I consider it time sensitive. I think the leadership that I report up under considers it time sensitive. And I hope they continue to have that sentiment. And so we're back in from the holidays and we're trying to do stuff, and hopefully we will have something I can share that will be approved by legal and approved by PR soon-ish, maybe, hopefully. But as of right now, I kind of got a whole lot of nothing, but hang tight, hang tight.
So you're saying be patient. When of your career have you ever known programmers to be patient?
None. I used to be a web developer. I was a web developer before this. I was PHP, LAMP stack. I used to do WordPress. Like, no, zero patience, right?
Right.
And this is one of those things too, where like I am very documentation driven, and losing the knowledge in the archive of it, I totally understand. Like, I understand the frustration. And you want to work asynchronously, right? You don't want to have to wait for someone from Partner Success to like respond to you. You want to be able to find that information yourself, and you want that level of independence. And I totally get that.
Yeah, because we have deadlines we have to meet, or we get hauled on the carpet.
Yeah, I get that.
So
I think we're out of time.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're good. Thanks, Scott, for sharing about all your cool tools. It's a joke. We didn't get
I'm starting to think that's a vaporware.
It's not. It really actually exists.
We'll see about that.
A C# link system for Roku. It actually exists. Maybe sometime this year I'll show it.
Yeah, this is good. I felt like this kind of flowed organically, and that's the whole point of these meetings, is just to catch you up. If we got stuff to talk about, we'll talk about it. If we don't, we'll have somebody present, and it'll be good. So
that works perfect.
Thanks everyone. We'll catch you all next month.
See you all in a month.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bronley, you got that all recorded, I assume?
Yep, we got it.
Yeah, I think